Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Earning XP and weapon XP in Black Ops 6 Zombies is really difficult right now, but in this video, we'll be talking about a method to earn it a bit more easily. However, I have to give you a warning before we kick things off here. The second strat shown in the video here is going to use a glitch. I'm going to be straight up. If you're the sort of person that doesn't like using glitches for anything at all, then that second strat shown in the video is not the one for you. But I'm still going to include it because I just wanted to get this information into the hands of the people that would be interested as soon as possible, because there is a very strong chance that this gets patched pretty fast by Treyarch. So make the most of this while you can, and if you give this a go and it has been patched, maybe just hit that subscribe button so that you get recommended other videos like this from me in the future, and that way you'll always be kept up to date with whatever the most recent strat is. Now, also a reminder for you before you jump into the match is that you need to have the correct augment equipped that you want to actually level up. There's no point you having a dud bad augment or something queued while you're getting a ton of XP, and XP for augments is not related to the augment or the field upgrade or the perk or the ammo mod itself. It's just related to earning XP in general. So if you want to level up your stamina up augments, for example, you can turn that on in the research tab, but then you don't even need stamina up in the game. That's totally fine. You just need as much XP as possible. And my recommendation is when you starting with stam is a really good idea. I'd get 1 or 2 there. I'd then maybe get 1 in Deadwire. And then when you have 3 total augments unlocked, you're going to unlock the ability to start leveling quick revive augments. And I think you should crush quick revive augments for a while. Like, I think that those first couple of quick augments are so huge, especially EMT. I think that one's amazing. And Dying Wish, when you get it, is insanely powerful. So that's one that is absolutely worth grinding for. And so if you can turn quick revive augments on in this game, that'll do you a lot of good. Also, last thing before I explain what to do in the match itself here, I really recommend putting a suppressor on your weapon, but checking in the suppressor settings whether or not it has the little status effect where it adds salvage drop rate to your weapon. That's going to be really useful for getting better weapon rarities, which we'll talk about in a moment. So to begin with, spawn into your game and start working on the 3 amp generators to turn on Pack-a-Punch. You can just play the first couple of rounds normally, or a strat that I like to use to just make things all happen a bit faster is to turn on the Rampage Inducer. This is going to mean that zombies start spawning in, sprinting at you as if they were round 50 zombies. Like, it's going to be a bit crazy, so keep your wits about you. Make sure that you're not just slacking and playing as if you're actually on round 1, because this is going to make it feel like round 50. And if you do turn it on and it's too overwhelming for some reason, or you're just like, nah, I just don't want to play at that pace, you can literally just go back to that machine and hold square on it again, and it will turn off and the zombies will go back to normal after a few seconds. But while you do all that and while you work on Pack-a-Punch, which I'll be doing on screen here, I need to quickly tell you about how XP really works in this game. So there's a few facets to how you can get more XP. There's low impact stuff that is not going to make a crazy difference, but is still worth bearing in mind as you play, such as getting medals, and different medals are going to get you different amounts of XP. So as you can see on the screen here, these all have different XP reward amounts, and if I optimized, for example, during my gameplay to get, I don't know, a bunch of multi-kills or something, that's going to earn me a little bit more XP than I would otherwise if I was getting those kills just individually. So that's something to keep in mind on the low impact side of things. On the much higher impact side, individual kills that are just regular kills to the body of a zombie are going to grant you less XP than kills to the head. It really is important for you to be getting those crit kills, and so anytime you're doing a strat, for example, where you're using a lot of explosives, you're going to earn less XP from that, because explosive kills are pretty much half the XP of a critical kill. So you basically only ever want to be getting headshots, and if you're not getting a headshot, you're just wasting XP. You're leaving XP on the table. And finally, the third and maybe most important thing, depending on your preferences of weapon XP versus just character progression, is challenges. Now, there are a bunch of challenges available to you in your barracks when you're in the menus. Some of them are gameplay based, but others aren't gameplay based. They're either weapon based, or they might even be things like reticle based. So you can work on a whole bunch of all these different things to get XP while you're playing, just by varying your strategy a little bit, using a different gun, using a different field upgrade, etc. Okay, so back to the gameplay now. What I would typically do in a game is I rampage induce till maybe like round 6 or 7 or something, and then when things start getting a little bit more hairy, I turn it off, and I'll try my best to get myself a weapon upgrade as soon as possible. level, and this can happen one of two ways. You can either do it on your loadout weapon if you feel like the loadout weapon is one you specifically want to level, or you can just pick up a gun out of the mystery box or something, which will usually have a higher rarity, and it will have an even higher rarity as you go through the rounds as well, so you can spin the box later in your game to get higher rarity weapons. But yeah, if you just want to level your loadout weapon, then you can spend your salvage on doing that at the arsenal machine. Once I've got myself some slightly higher rarity than Grey, I'd also start thinking about Pack-a-Punch Tier 1. I don't typically get Pack Tier 1 before I get that first rarity upgrade, because I find that the first rarity upgrade just feels like a bigger buff sooner, usually. But as soon as that's done, Pack Tier 1, and then also, we're going to specifically want to save 500 salvage for Deadwire. And this is going to come in handy for a little sort of side questy type thing that we can start doing in order to make our life a bit easier. So once you have Deadwire on your weapon, activate the incline lift that the Pack-a-Punch is sitting on and travel from the bottom area, the biolab, up to the top. And while it's going up, look on the right-hand side for an electrical box. You need to shoot that electrical box with your Deadwire weapon. When you do so correctly, it'll start sparking and the electricity will then travel to another box that you need to shoot. And as I'm showing you in the gameplay here, you just need to follow each of the boxes around this building and shoot all of them in turn. And after it's traveled, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times, something like that, it will then land outside this little door here, and you can shoot it a final time and then enter this laboratory. This is actually the first step of building yourself a free wonder weapon on this map, and I've got a full guide for that linked in the corner of the screen right now if you want to check it out, and it's also linked in the description. The spawns inside this lab are crazy. Like, they are so overwhelming, it is actually insane. And so maybe you're in a co-op game with a couple of friends and you just want to all come in here, sit in the back of the lab, and just get flooded by zombies and have really, really quick spawns. That's a way that you could potentially speed things up a little bit without necessarily having to have Rampage Inducer on, but you could speed your spawns up and therefore get a lot more XP by just shooting those zombies quicker. And then you'll also be able to earn a whole load of points there, which will let you start getting more Pack-a-Punch levels, etc. However, it's going to get very overwhelming very fast. And so I wouldn't hold in there for a crazy amount of time, but it can just be useful to do to get a little flavor of what's to come later in this video. And then separate to that, if you're staying legit, what I'd say is it's a really good idea to try and grind through rounds as fast as you can, getting headshots on all of your kills wherever possible. But then also, as you start slowing down in the round progression and you feel like things are just taking a really long time, maybe your weapons are not being effective, that's the point where I'd say you have one of two options. You can either go legit and basically exfil in that moment, and my recommendation there would be to use a chopper gunner to ensure that you get through the actual exfil, because they can get really hard if you're exfilling past round 30. But your other option, once your guns start sucking, is for you to start doing this glitch. And the nice thing here is if this does get patched, there will definitely be other similar glitches that you can use in the future, and they will still be able to make use of the lab, which means that you've just got transferable knowledge now. Now, for the record, you're only going to be able to start it once you get to around round 16, so any thoughts of you doing it on round 4, just put those out of your head right now. We're going to wait till round 16, and then we're going to kick this off. And the reason for that is that the amalgam is going to spawn in. That's the boss zombie on the map. It's very similar to the Nathan mini-boss fight that happens in the middle of the Easter egg, but these amalgams, thankfully, are a little easier to kill. But in our case, we don't actually want to kill it. What we want to do instead is take out all the other zombies on the map, bar 1 or 2, so keep 1 or 2 alive, and they can be runners for now, that's fine, because we need to bring the amalgam to a specific area on the map underneath the C tower. And when you go down there towards the docks, you'll find that there is a rappel cord directly underneath the tower, and that's where we need to be. Now, at this point, if you can make one of your zombies into a crawler or something, that's going to make your life a bit easier for doing this next bit, because it can be a bit fiddly, and there is a chance that you go down while you're doing this, just because the amalgam can do a bunch of damage, and if you've got a bunch of zombies alive, then you're at risk. So do be careful. And the strat that you're trying to execute here is you need to bait the amalgam to grab you with its long arm grab attack, and when it grabs you, you need to spam interact on the zipline. Now, this will work both if you've got tap to interact on and if you have hold to interact. I think generally people say hold is a little easier on this one. And timing wise, what we're aiming for is for him to latch onto you the second you latch onto the zipline. Like, you're gonna just begin your zipline animation and then he's gonna grab you and yank you off it. That's kind of the idea. idea. And you'll know whether or not what we're doing has worked correctly because the yank won't do any damage to you. So if you look in the bottom left corner of your screen and you see yourself take a chunk of armor damage and a chunk of health damage, then that means that the glitch hasn't worked. But if you don't take any damage, what you'll also notice is that all the zombies start running away from you, and that means we're in business. You now have God mode. Now, with great power comes great responsibility, okay? So now that you have God mode, yeah, okay, I guess you could do some Easter egg stuff, or you could hunt for unsolved stuff, or things along those lines, but we're obviously focused on XP. So you need to come back to the lab that we opened earlier, and that is the best place to continue the strategy here. So kill that last zombie that you had alive, and then sit in the back of the lab. And as we saw before, if you tried this earlier in your game, all the zombies are going to pour out of the windows, and it's going to get really crazy really fast. That's the reason we found this area in the first place. It's one of the fastest spawns in the entire game, and in conjunction with this little glitch, it works super well. And you just need to spray into them perpetually as they pour out. And as you do this, you'll get more and more XP, obviously, from all the headshots that you're getting. Now, there are times where the laboratory spawn will get a bit weird. Like, for example, you might have no zombies appearing for a little bit, and you might be wondering why your round isn't changing. That's probably because you have a mangler somewhere else on the map that you need to take down. It's most likely not too far away, but if you still have a mangler alive, delete it from existence and then return to the lab, and you should be able to continue. And similarly, as you go along in your game and you start getting fewer and fewer points, you're going to want to make sure that you're getting your weapon to max rarity and also getting your Pack-a-Punch to max tier as well. And if you ever want to get rid of the God mode but still continue that match, you can just use the save and quit feature and then come back next game and God mode will be erased. But if you want to just get as much XP as possible, then I'd say as soon as you're ready to end your game, you should exfil, and you should do it with a chopper gunner to make it a lot easier for you. But that'll mean that you just get a little XP bonus on top at the end.